Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Okay, preemptive like. General knowledge, great channel. Hello, guys. How are you? Good. Great. How do Europe and the United States compare? Original link to the video, top of the description. Right below that, link to the Discord. Click on it, send you right over there. Would love to have you. Makes it easier for me to interact with you. Don't be shy. Let's go. Phones away. Mine's over there. Toss it. Even if you're watching on one. Ah.
Europe. One continent, 44 countries, according to the UN, and 740...
I'm already pausing. It's not really even a continent, guys. It's like a peninsula. Alright, sorry. Alright. No talking from me. No talking.
One continent, 44 countries, according to the UN, and 746 million people. The United States are part of North America, only one country with 329 million people, less than half of Europe. The United States are often compared to the European Union or Europe as a whole a lot of times. So in this video I thought it would be interesting to take a look at a few indicators and check how it is that they in fact compare. We've already covered a few of the basics, amount of countries and population, but what about size? The United States have an area of around 9.8 million square kilometers, while Europe has a size of around 10.5 million. Although this can vary depending on which limits you attribute to the continent. So now that we've covered all of those...
Oh yeah, it's like, aren't the boundaries like... Wait, so does that mean parts of Kazakhstan are technically in Europe? See, it seems to be more of a cultural boundary than just a physical one. Because, so I think the Ural Mountains is the cutoff for Russia. And then kind of a weird, like, Caspian Caucasus Mountains boundary. And then some of Turkey. Okay.
Basics, let's jump into a few specific indicators and find out how the two compare. First, comparing the latitude. It's very interesting to see the overlay of the European cities on top of the US territory.
Okay. Where am I? Oh, I'm literally in the Caspian Sea. I'm sort of right in between New York and Boston, closer to Boston. So I am the same latitude as... Oh, Istanbul. Wow, cool. Sort of like Rome, Madrid-ish area, Istanbul. Damn. Look how far north Sweden and Norway are. Sweden is high up. Oh no, that's Finland. Where is Stockholm? Okay.
And vice versa.
Whoa.
For instance, as stupid as it may sound, I had no idea Reykjavik was as further north as northern Canada. The same applies to Oslo. It makes sense that Portuguese and Spanish cities are on the same level as California, at least climate-wise, but it's weird, for instance, that Ankara is at the same level as Delaware. For some reason, I always thought it was so much further south. It's also strange to see that Los Angeles is on the same latitude as Algeria in North Africa, or that New York is at the same latitude as Azerbaijan. Speaking of Portugal, Spain, and California, how do the US and Europe compare when it comes to the hours of sunlight they get every year? Through this map, we understand that the Southwest USA gets more hours of sun than anywhere in Europe, over 35.
Hottest place I've ever been in my life was Arizona, Phoenix, Grand Canyon. Oh my God, story time. Fast forward if you want. The only time that I felt like I wasn't close to death, obviously, but I remember we were in the Grand Canyon, towards the bottom of the Grand Canyon. Like, we were in the canyon, right? And it was so hot. You can tell why so many Arab countries have dress the way they do. Like, it all made sense after that experience. I'm like, that is why they dress the way they do in a lot of desert area countries. It's so freaking hot that it's like inside of you all hot. Like you don't want to do anything except just walk in the most efficient, least energy way and just keep on going. And I like took my shirt off and put it like water and then on my head. And I remember we had a bag of Cheetos, and that bag of Cheetos like saved my life. I'm being a little overly dramatic, okay? But man, it's hot in Arizona.
500 a year, and unlike Europe, there's nowhere in the US that gets less than 1800 hours of sun, as is the case in many areas of Europe, those in light green, blue, and dark blue. It's also odd, at least to me who isn't an expert on this matter, how the amount of hours of sun isn't directly related to the latitude of the region. I always assumed that the closer to the equator you are, the more hours of sun you get, but we can see on this map that this isn't the case at all, even though we can tell that usually southern areas get more sun. If you know which other factors determine hours of sun, let me know in the comments. Another interesting topic is human development. The United States and Europe are arguably two of the most developed areas of the world. This map compares the Human Development Index of each US state.
Why? Why is Rhode Island? No. Why? Why is Rhode Island? No.
In each European country. In case you don't know, the HDI is calculated as the geometric mean of life expectancy, education, and gross national income per capita. Assuming that those indicators are representative of the quality of life of people, it seeks to measure precisely that. In the United States, there's only one state that doesn't make it into the top 3 HDI category.
Of course.
Mississippi. When we look at Europe, only a handful of countries are in the top ranking: Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Ireland, Denmark, Germany, Netherlands, and Switzerland. And when you look at Eastern Europe, these levels
sort of shocked that the UK isn't blue. But I mean, France isn't either, and neither is Belgium or Austria.
go significantly down, with many countries in the lowest category, such as Ukraine, Turkey, Serbia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Albania, and North Macedonia. In Western Europe, Portugal is the only country who isn't in the top 3 levels of HDI. A somewhat subjective comparison of these two areas is also depicted in this other map. This is based in a 2014 Pew Research Center poll. It's almost 10 years old, so the data might be somewhat outdated and no longer valid. Always keep that in mind for these types of videos where
percentage of population absolutely certain God exists. How can you be absolutely certain? I just don't get it. You should never be absolutely certain. Why does that upset me? You're absolutely certain. I don't get that. Okay. I have no problem if you're religious. No problem with that. It just, how can you be certain? That just, it screams like the nerve of you.
where data and maps are presented, the data might not be 100% right,
Bible
and
Belt.
it might be outdated. But in this one, people were asked if they are absolutely certain of God's existence. And the comparison of the results between the US and Europe is astonishing. The majority of US states have over 50% of people being certain of God's existence, some even surpassing 70%. Those in dark blue. Only Vermont, Maine, and Massachusetts have results under 50%, while most of Europe
I'm surprised Kansas isn't included, but interesting.
is much less certain in their belief of God. Most of the continent is in yellow, with only 10 to 29% being certain of their belief.
I feel like the most Bible-y of Bible-y areas would be like right here. Like at the intersection of Arkansas, Tennessee, and Alabama and Mississippi. I feel like that's like dead center Bible country.
Most of the continent is in yellow, with only 10 to 29% being certain of their belief. Portugal, Poland, Slovakia, Lithuania, and Ukraine, along with Bulgaria, go up to 30 or 49%, but still not reaching over half of the population. The
Look at
rest of the
Georgia.
Balkans is more religious, but it's only
Armenia.
Georgia and Armenia who reach the dark blue level. There's a few countries missing from this map, those in gray. If you have any idea of how religious they are, leave a comment below. Another interesting thing we can compare are age
Muslim countries must be crazy high.
restrictions in the US and Europe. Age restrictions can be applied to driving, voting, tobacco, or alcohol purchases. Many of these change often, so be aware
I don't know
of
that
these
for a fact. I don't want to say I know Muslim countries would be more certain God exists.
There are age
just a guess.
restrictions in the US and Europe. Age restrictions can be applied to driving, voting, tobacco, or alcohol purchases.
Yeah, guys, there's no getting around to it. I'm pausing. There are too many interesting maps, and that's my weakness. Voting age for national elections. Greece is the only 17 one. 16 years old. I think 18 is borderline too young. I'd almost be okay if they bumped it up to 21. Because I guess I'm speaking for myself. When I was 18, I didn't know anything about politics. Not nothing. But certainly not a lot. And I don't want to make the infer that other people are as uneducated in politics as I was. But I think 18, you don't really know what's going on. And yet you can join the military, which... How about put the age to 20, but if you're in the military, you can vote at 18. Tobacco purchase age, yeah, 21. It's always been 21. Minimum alcohol, 21. Yep. Wow, there's not a single 21. Always makes me realize how conservative America is when you compare to Europe. Like, I feel that a conservative in Europe would be a center kind of independent over here if you were to take the same views. So 18 is pretty popular. Okay.
Many of these change often, so be aware.
Wait. Unsupervised car driving age is 18? 17 in... Wow.
These might not be correct at the moment you watch. When it comes to driving, the US government allows people to drive at a much younger age. In South Dakota, it says you can drive at 14 years 14. And 6 months.
Okay. I mean, if you're in the middle of nowhere, yeah, I can see that. But, like, New York City, crazy driving. But, okay.
Kind of crazy if it's true. The oldest driving age in the US seems to be New Jersey at 17. While in Europe, the vast majority of countries has a 18 years minimum driving age.
It's because there's, like, no one to drive into, and, like, the roads are gotta be so open that driving has just gotta be much more easy, I guess.
Only the UK, Iceland, Hungary, and Georgia have lowered it to 17. When it comes to voting, 18 is common all around. Only in Europe are there 2 countries that differ, Austria at 16 and Greece at 17. Although I'm not sure if these limits are the same for all types of elections. Tobacco purchase is technically only allowed over 21 in all of the US, while in Europe you can buy it at 18.
Wait a second. No. No, it's not. Why did I think this was right? This is... No. It's 18. Tobacco purchase age is absolutely 18. You can buy cigarettes at 18. Right? Why is this making me doubt myself? No, 100% you can buy tobacco at 18. Why does it say 21?
Is technically only allowed over 21 in all of the US, while in Europe you can buy it at 18. Alcohol purchasing is also forbidden.
I'm doubting myself. Tobacco purchasing age. Huh? Huh? Ooh.
This episode
for people under 21 all across the United States, with the limit ages varying a lot across Europe, but none being higher than 18 or 20. Although again, this also varies depending on the type of alcohol. For instance, in Portugal, I think you can buy beer or wine as long as you're over 18, but other drinks do have a 20-year age limit, I think. When it comes to comparison between military, for instance, it's a difficult comparison to make. According to Wikipedia, the US Army has a personnel of around 1 million, counting active troops, reserves, and National Guard, and according to this 2018 article from Business Insider, the top 5 strongest militaries in Europe, all of these maps exclude Russia, are France with 390,000, the UK 280, Italy 267, Germany 200, and Spain 175. Together, these alone would surpass the US Army, although you'd still need to take into account the material advantage of the US. Ships, intelligence, tanks, planes.
I'm surprised Spain is on the list. That's more than I expected.
Count the material advantage of the US. Ships, intelligence, tanks, planes, investment, and in these the US has a considerable advantage. As we can see from this graph, the
freedom.
The investment comparisons. But thankfully, most of Europe and the US are allied through NATO, so a comparison isn't needed because in the event of a conflict, it is very likely they would be on the same side. And what about an economic comparison? The United States and the European Union are the two largest economies globally in nominal terms. In recent years, only in 2011 did the European Union have a higher GDP than the US. Keep in mind this excludes non-EU Europe. The US's GDP per capita is 63,000, while in the EU it's 33, but keep in mind both of these are on average. There are EU countries and US states with higher and lower values. Also, as we can see from these maps, the US's GDP is mostly carried by California, Texas, Florida, and New York, while Europe's is mostly carried by France, Germany, the UK, Spain, and
I feel like Massachusetts, for its size, pulls a lot of weight. But also like you have like the medium states, like Pennsylvania, Virginia, Ohio, Illinois kind of ones. Washington State got a lot of the tech companies. Texas, California, obviously. Florida, yep, New York.
Florida and New York, while Europe's is mostly carried by France, Germany, the UK, Spain, and Italy. When it comes to currency comparison, as I make this video, 1 euro equals $1.07. The euro's value has been higher and recently its value has decreased a little.
1.7 or 1.07?
$0.07. The euro's
euro to dollar. 1.02. Obviously, this was made a bit longer ago, so.
Value has been higher and recently its value has decreased a little, approaching parity with the dollar. As we can see from this graph, there was only a short period in the early 2000s when the euro was worth less than the dollar. There was a point where it was almost worth 50% more. Recently things have stabilized and they're almost worth the same, but with Croatia joining the European currency next year, it might go up again. Also keep in mind not all of Europe and not even all of the EU use the euro as their currency. Another interesting point to compare is the percentage of young people aged 18 to 34 that still live in their family's home, meaning in most cases they do not yet have the financial stability to live on their own. Both of these maps have data from
imagine living with your parents. Guilty. I like it here, okay?
From 2015, but from the most recent information I could find about this, the numbers haven't changed a lot. In Europe, Nordic countries have very low values. They're also
I'm in that. I'm in that category. Hey, I love living with my parents, okay? It's fun. Have a good time.
the highest income areas, so it makes sense people can more easily afford to live on their own, but it might also have to do with the cultural element. In Southern Europe, the amount of young people still living at home is tremendous, 44% in Portugal, 37% in Spain, and 46% in Italy, for instance, while Greece, Bulgaria, and Slovakia are all above 50%. In the US, values are equally as high, with the difference being that there are no states at all below 10%, the lowest.
Interesting. New Jersey, why? Obviously, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to live with your parents, guys. I'm guilty myself, but sometimes it's necessary. Don't want to judge anyone. New York, 40%. What's the highest? Is it New Jersey? Washington, D.C., 16.6. That makes complete sense because D.C. is pretty much all political jobs, right? Or there are suburbs in DC, I think. Connecticut. 22%, 22.7, 20.9. That's the record for low. 19.9, 14.1. You can see as like they get more rural, they tend to move out more. I think 14.1 is the record. Yeah. 14%. So North Dakota, they leave the quickest. And New Jersey, they leave the latest.
Most value is 14 in North Dakota, and the highest being in New Jersey with 46, although none surpass 50%. These high values are usually connected with the fact that salaries do not pay enough and the cost of living is way too high, both due to rising prices, inflation, and also other factors. So that is how the United States and Europe compare in a number of indicators and interesting aspects. There's a lot of things you can compare the two in. If you know of any more, leave a comment and I can always make a part 2 of this. It's always difficult to be fair in these comparisons. After all, the United States are a single country and Europe has around 44, but if you take into account that the US are a federal state consisting of 50 states, the comparison makes a little more sense, especially when the size of the two is similar. As we can see on this interactive map, the size of the US over Europe is pretty close, and as you saw in the beginning, the number of
but population wise it's not even close.
Square kilometers are pretty close as well. In many ways they are similar, but in so many other big differences are visible, many of which signifying a great difference in the way that people live their life and the quality that life has.
Great Britain and Argentina. Is that Venezuela? Oh no, is it Armenia or something? Azerbaijan? I'm just a guess. Pakistan, India. Cool video, guys. Hope you're doing well. If not, chin up. You'll be good soon. Don't worry. See you guys. See you next time. Bye.